And now, we have someone anointed to preach the gospel.
Appointed to transform a generation.
Author of multiple books of wisdom. Hey.
He is a certified John Maxwell team coach, CEO of Momentum Leadership Group, and many other ventures.
He is a father of 3 biological children and very many spiritual ones. Yeah.
With many sons and daughters in the kingdom. And the lead pastor and vision bearer of Worship Harvest Ministries International.
Hey! Ladies and gentlemen,
let's make some noise for Apostle Moses.
Mukisa. Yeah. Woohoo!
People.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Are you feeling a 20-30 gathering? Please stay standing. I'm going to ask my hot wife to just come briefly so that... Hey! Rejoice with those who rejoice. If you don't yet have a wife, just rejoice with me. Lekebe, Sataya, Lembraka, Shekeke. Say hi.
Hi. Banang, I'm feeling so young.
Correction, you are so young.
You people. It's good to be 20 to 30. And because you are 20 to 30, you can start living a life of purpose now. You can plant that church now. You can start that hosting center now. So I hope that being in this room is giving you those vibes of going out to do something so that next year you can come and tell us that I used to be those ordinary people, now I'm a church planter. So 2030, let's do it, guys. Let's change the world. Let's live a life of significance. Let's live a life of purpose. Woohoo!
Chota subira, chota la wazo, yemoloko za chisobola. Chota subira, chota la wazo, yemoloko za chisobola. Welcome to the 2030 crusade. Are you ready? Some people are too serious for their own good. Some people are too serious for their own good. Are you ready? Are you ready? Hey, come on, dance, everybody. Hey, someone must go with it. Chota subira, chota la wazo, yemoloko za chisobola. Chota subira, chota la wazo, yemoloko za chisobola. Chisangu za chirijimu, Yesu moloko za fayo. Chisangu za chirijimu, Yesu moloko za fayo. Nebonda banga nyimba sanyuka mondo moja mbate Yesu. Nebonda banga nyimba sanyuka mondo moja mbate Yesu. Mubula mubwange, mulimo Yesu. Mutima kwange, mulimo Yesu. 2030 gathering, mulimo Yesu. Gospel Harvest. Hey, hey, hey. Yesu ni wangu wa uzima wa milele. Yesu ni wangu wa uzima wa milele. 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 Which is my vocal song, which he always sang even when we told him not to sing it. Mukama ye musumba wange nange setakenga. 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 Hey! Welcome to 2030 gathering, everybody. Tell your neighbor, neighbor. Stop acting old, for the Lord renews your youth as an eagle. Thank you, bye. Hey, you can have your seats. Mama. Jesus is holding here. Wasn't that an amazing testimony by Pastor Salome? My goodness. I've had bits and pieces of it, but I never get used to it. It sounds fresh every time. It's not because, it's not the story. It's the anointing. You know, you can hear the same thing over and over and keep getting different experiences as you hear it, right? My goodness, that's so good. We are blessed. Amen. This morning, we are hearing from some of the most significant leaders of your generation. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you that. When you think about Pastor Blesso, hey, my friend, fire! I tell you, it just got started. Yes. You see, if you have Pastor Blesso's number now, make use of it. Yeah, because the time will come when you need to talk to 10 people to find his number. And they will all be saying, no, sorry, what? Talk to the other one, no, talk to the other one. Talk to the wife, talk to the assistant, yeah. Yeah, come on, people. Let's appreciate Pastor Blesso. Yay! He's a great man of God. Great man of God. Wonders. And he's also full of wisdom. Yeah. And then we had Pastor B3. When I grow up, hey! Look, Pastor B3 can preach about anything, and I will listen as if it's oxygen I'm breathing in. Wow! Look, I can even bring eye and say, okay, talk about green and yellow. Hey! And people will walk forward and get saved. That's the anointing. Amen. We honor you, Pastor B3. Wow. Okay, guys, let's sit down and see if I can get through this, because I have to go and attend and also preach at a wedding. That means I have to change my clothes into old people's clothing. And yet, here we are with our young clothing. You see? Yeah, the cameras They are here in 2030 in the right attire. Yeah. Did anyone come in Ebusuti? Or deep change? Anyway, let's not go there. Just know that. Yeah. It's a good time. Welcome. Thank you. I know there are people joining us from other churches. You are especially welcome. Thank you for being with us here. Thank you for coming to hang out with a crazy, anointed, rich, young, God-following, God-honoring, world-changing, church-planting people of Worship Harvest Ministries International. Hey, I see you blessed. I see you healed. I see you anointed. I see you as a world changer. You shall be the most influential person in your family in the name of Jesus. Yes, you shall be the solution everywhere you go. At your workplace, your office will be the office that those who need hope go to. Amen. Because of God. God, the God who lives in you. The world is searching and you have it. Amen. Please sit down. We are going to talk about 7 things that should happen between 20 and 30. Yes. Can I have my water? Voila, voila. 7 things that must happen between 20 and 30. Are you ready for it? You know, for us who are between 20 and 30, there are things that we know we must accomplish in that window. Because there's a time for everything. Look, people sometimes they got confused. They think that the time for everything is every time. No. No. For example, no one in this room can win the Olympic 100-meter gold medal anymore. No one. Look, you can even fast for 90 days. You will not win it. The window closed. The window closed. There is a window within which things must happen. And this is wisdom. This is wisdom. A lot of people never taste greatness because they don't understand the law of timing. Timing. There is a window. Amen. You see, God performs miracles, doesn't he? But also God works by principles. Yeah, that's why sometimes you must have a special word for some things to happen because the timing, the window is closed. Sarah having Isaac, that was a special intervention from heaven. And yet all the people, all the women in that area, both believers and unbelievers, were busy having children without having to talk to God about it. Why? It was just timing. Yeah. You know, sometimes we think everything God has to come and get involved. No, look, God set the world in motion, and he has never had to come and course correct the Earth's rotation around the sun or the rotation on its axis. Never. Not even once. Why? It's a principle. God is a God of systems. The reason your business is small is you don't have systems. The reason the universe is big is because it is a system. And God is not always going, hey, the earthlings are going off. Michael, quickly, hey! No, every day. That's why people can completely ignore God and even say he doesn't exist. Yeah. You know that your business is really successful when people don't even know you exist and you're the owner. I'm giving good wisdom. Okay, they don't know you're there. You, every time you go to Absa, have you ever asked, who are the owners of Absa Bank? You just go, card, penny, what? Checks, what? Do you know the owners of Absa Bank? Yeah. You don't know. Wow. So all of this to say, there are systems. There are systems. Yeah. And there are principles. And principles are standard. The principles are not bendable. They are laws like gravity. It's not like it works differently for different people. It's the same. Believers, non-believers, it's the same. Amen. Whether my brother is in the house, Mr. Uncle D, just wave to the people. Yeah. Some of you see us here, you think that we don't have families. Also people, I think we just got out of a rock, hatched out of an egg. So I want you to understand the law of timing, the window, that there is a window, and that you can actually succeed outside that window, but not as much as you would have succeeded if you had operated within the window. And the problem is when you succeed having operated outside of the window, you think that that's real success. Because you see, if you make 1 billion shillings, you can be so excited because you don't know that you could have made 10 billion. Yeah. But you get happy with 1 billion. Yeah, you can do a church of 1,000 people and you get so excited because everyone else has 200. And when you walk in there, you look like the big deal. You don't know that in heaven's arrangement, you're supposed to 100,000. So these ends on earth, you're so successful, you reach heaven, everyone is crying. What? This place is nice. Why are you crying? You left 99,000 behind. You left 99,000 behind because you just did 1,000 and you were supposed to do 100,000. Have you ever attended those races of nursery school kids? Huh? Where they say start and then someone starts running in a completely wrong direction. They have to run after them and say, no, this side. And the parent carries a bit, puts on the word, okay. Nayenga in the mind of the kid. Huh? She's winning. Abatwala, but in the wrong direction. I think sometimes God is that parent. God is that parent. It's like, what? 7 things that must happen between 20 and 30. But first of all, there are people we read about and we think they are outliers. But I've discovered through wisdom that they are not the outliers. They are the principal players, and everyone else who succeeds without doing what they did, they are the outlier. So for example, Jesus knew his purpose at 12, launched out at 30 and was done by 33. Now, you'd think he's an outlier. Until normal people find their purpose at 20, 25, 30. No. He's the norm. He's not the outlier. Anyone who finds out their purpose at 12, they have to succeed. Success for a person who starts at 12 is not guesswork. It's guaranteed. There is nothing outlierish about it. If you and I are going to run from that wall to that wall, okay? And it's a race. And then I start running. And you start 30 seconds later. Look, my winning can't be a surprise to anyone. Especially if they have something between their ears. Do you get what I'm saying? The fact that I got there before you No one should be saying, he was more anointed. No, he runs faster. Or about what he was trained in running. No, I just started earlier. Is that too clever? Is that too clever? It's common sense. Those who start earlier have more than 100% chance to win than those who start later. It's pure, like earthly wisdom even. It's not even something from heaven. Alexander the Great started commanding armies at 17. He became emperor at 20 and conquered the known world and died at 32. He was not an outlier. He would have been an outlier if he had started at 30. Augustus Caesar, the first Roman emperor, became a senator at 20. Mozart wrote his first symphony at 8. Kirk Franklin, you know Kirk Franklin? Started piano lessons at 4. Professional. By age 11, he was the choir director of the adult choir at his church. Yeah. Get all the mamas, all the big people. And the director of music. Now, first of all, Kirk Franklin is short. Already. Now imagine him at 11. Okay, guys, that tenor is wrong. That tenor is wrong. I think it is 11. It's window. He won his first Grammy at 26 and won too many Grammys. No one knows the number now. And sold many millions of. Bill Gates started Microsoft at 20 years. Steve Jobs started Apple at 21. They are not outliers. Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook at 19. They are not outliers. Their success is very predictable because of the timing of their start. But here we are. You want first to waste time doing every irrelevant thing in the world, including studying subjects that have nothing to do with where you're going. And then in your older age, when you get into midlife crisis, you start asking, Lord, why did you create me? God didn't send me here for everyone, but God sent me here for some people. Yeah. Wow. And Romack started ministering as a teenager. Yeah. The Gospel Truth program went on radio in 1974. 74 up to now. The man has been on radio daily and television daily. You think he's accidentally successful? Are you there? Bishop Doug Hayward Mills started Lighthouse Chapel at 25 while a student at university in a classroom. It's now more than 5,000 churches. There is nothing accidental. So, looking at a text in 1 Timothy chapter 4 and chapter 3, late chapter 3, late chapter 4, early chapter 4, basically late chapter 3, all of chapter 4, but I've rearranged them so that in case I don't finish. Yeah, so I'm not going in order of the scriptures. But Paul writes to Timothy and says certain things that tend to tell me that there is a way in which there must be things you can do within a certain window that will propel you to somewhere you're going. Are you with me? Are you ready for it? So let's look at verse 7 to 9. Are you able to read in English together loudly? Together, but reject profane and old wives' fables, and exercise yourself to what? Godliness. For bodily exercise profits a little, but godliness is profitable for all things, having promise of the life that now is and of that which is to come. This is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptance. Amen. The first thing that I think you must do within that window. Now let me move the window to 20 to 30. This is a 20 to 30 gathering. Because I can see that some people are attempting to get depressed. Yeah, they're like, hey, mercy, mercy. Like, at the window, I'm seeing a ventilator right now. We are going to try and move the window back to where you are. It's never too late, amen. The first thing is to seek and to know God. Yeah. Look, if I knew what I know now, then it is not complicated, people. It's God. God can come into your life and make you something that you can never become without him. That's the first thing. Yeah. If I were 20 again, I'm now 45. If I were 20 again, I would pray at least 1 hour every day. I would take off once a week to pray at least 3 to 4 to 5 hours. I would fast every week, at least 2-3 days. I would do the things that I'm trying to do now, and they are so much harder than it was back then when I had the opportunity, and I used some of it, but I didn't use a lot of it. I would seek God. The Bible says, those who seek me find me. Yeah. I would seek God. I would seek God. You see, everything you're pursuing is going to be over the day you die. I'm telling you. The Bible says, go to the house of mourning. There is more wisdom there than in the house of celebration. Yeah. A day will come and you'll die. And it will be all over. Seek God. Because after you die, the person you're going to be with is called who? God. Don't get there and you're both surprised. You're surprised about God, he's also surprised about you. I was listening to Bishop Doug, and he was saying that when they bury a person in a grave, he said after 40 years of being in the grave, the only thing they can find of you are your fingernails. Yes. Yeah. There is nothing, only fingernails. It's terrible, isn't it? Nga fingernails is okay. Yes. In that expensive coffin, only fingernails. Everything else has vaporized. Look at them. They'll be around a little bit longer than the other body parts. Seek God. Seek God. Most people who walk with God well start early. That's what I've found. Late starters have trouble with God. Yeah, they can do great things quickly. There is something about knowing God which is almost like agriculture. It's like the seeds you plant. This idea of seed time and harvest, it works the most significant way to see it is a person's relationship with God. I was surprised when we had the ordination service here. If you have not watched it, go watch it. And the past of the people who were being ordained, of the 5 of them, the one who had given their life to Christ, the latest, did it at 12. Everyone else was earlier. 9, 8, 7, 5, and then 12. The 12, the one who came to Christ at 12 was the one who really delayed. This is the first group of people to be ordained in Worship Harvest. Ask yourself, where are the people who got saved at 30? I'm not saying you can't accelerate and catch up. You can. I'm just saying early starters don't need a miracle to win. Songo Charlie one. You're 20. You're 21. You're 23. Get on a serious prayer regimen. Yeah. Look, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to tell you the truth and what's going to make your life relevant, or else you can kiss goodbye to greatness. Live a normal life, die, and leave behind your fingernails. Luke 180. Luke 180. Talking of Jesus, Luke 180. Together. So the child grew and became strong in spirit. Strong in spirit. Can you describe yourself as a person who is strong in spirit? Not just body, not just muscles. Strong in spirit. This is Jesus. This is Jesus. No, this is not Jesus. This is John. This is John. Strong, and was in the desert still the day of his manifestation. But Jesus, it was the same thing. Luke 2:40. Now this is Jesus. The other one was John. This is Jesus. Luke 2:40. Together. And the child grew, repeat, and became strong in spirit, filled with wisdom. And the grace of God was upon him. That's you. That's your portion. Your portion is spiritual strength. Look, guys, if we just embrace spiritual strength, we would eliminate 95% of your current problems. Completely. I mean completely. Yeah. Things with depression, loneliness, brokenness. What? I don't know what to do, wherever, whichever. Since when? Not for a person who is strong in spirit. Makabraha. Lekezeke. Linda bro. Shegede. When I was younger and in the village, we would go and dig early morning before the sun comes out. Dig until around 10. And we'd come, milk the cows, send them off, come back. And around a certain time of my life, I started sitting at the dining table in our village home and starting to read my Bible. The stories were fascinating. Old Testament. I would read 1 hour, 2 hours, every day. God was preparing something, even when I didn't know. Seek God. Amen. So I didn't know what God was doing. I just read. Went to secondary school. Well, I was in secondary at that time. I went to uni. Just participated in everything that I could. All the fellowships, everything. Learned how to play keyboard, connected wires. Went for every mission thing. Like if it was happening, I was there. Yeah. Busia Mbale, Kapchora, I was there. Busia Tororo, I was there. I was there. Everything, I was there. Yeah. Learning to pray in tongues by not breakfast, I was there. God is good. In my 5th year, the year was 2001. I was on the last part of my studies. January 1st, 2001. I had an experience in my room, a visitation of God. It wasn't like physical, like God is there in the window. No. It was just the experience where I just felt God. I started crying and wept and prayed and blacked out on the carpet of my room and woke up the next morning feeling a completely different person. Then I had about 5 months to the end of my course. That last portion of my university study. That time we had just started Catalyze Ministries. I went to my faculty every day. I would go in the morning. 5th year it was hard work. Catching up. I would go in the morning and come back in the evening in time for dinner. And I remember that for that whole last term of the uni, some of you don't know there were terms. I never had breakfast or lunch. I always left, went to the faculty. So my regimen was wake up early. There was a nook somewhere between Virua Hall and Kuruma. I would go there, pray, come back to my room, read my Bible, bathe. Did I? Yeah. Go to the faculty. And I was there. Every lunchtime, I went to the canteen and bought a bottle of Coke for the whole time. One time, I was at St. Francis Chapel, and the chairperson of the main CU, Dr. Fred Okuku, just walked to me and said, "Your face is shining." I knew something was happening. Why am I telling you all these stories? Seek God. Look, of all the things you can do in this life where there is a chance of regret or no regret, will it work or will it not work? Is there return or no return? The one of seeking God is guaranteed. It's guaranteed. Just start spending time with God. I like verse 7 of 1 Timothy chapter 4 because it shows us some things. What does he say? Reject profane and the next 5 words are incredibly important for you to understand what I'm talking about. What does he say? And exercise yourself toward godliness. Do what? And then in the next verse, he compares it to physical exercise. He says, bodily exercise, prophecy, but godliness. In other words, spiritual exercise. Let me give you a clue. Because some of you, you're wondering, when will that good feeling come? When will I get that visitation also? No. It is exactly like physical exercise. Those who have tried physical exercise, does it feel good? Do you go to the gym saying, oh my God, I'm feeling the butterflies for the metal. I can't wait for the treadmill. Look, I have a treadmill in my house. If it could talk, the words it would say would be, how long, my master? How long will I be here without being put to use? I miss you. I miss the feeling of your shoes. Are you here? That's the same exact way exercising yourself toward godliness works. You get up, you go, and do it. And it's hard in the beginning. If you are going to succeed with physical exercise, some people here have tried. The first thing is there has to be regular and frequent timing. You can't go to the gym once a month, right? You spend 12 hours, then you come back dead. Like, okay, that's enough for the month, I'll go back. Look, a person who goes to the gym once a month for 6 hours and one who goes every day for 30 minutes, if they get into a fight, do you know what's going to happen? Someone is going to be beaten. Who? Yeah. Yeah. So, spiritual exercise is regular. Daily prayer. Weekly fasting. 10% giving. It's regular. Matthew 6. When you pray, when you fast, when you give. You have to rid yourself of anything to do with feelings when it comes to your spiritual exercises, if you are going to succeed. What did I say? Daily prayer, weekly fasting, 10% giving. Those are the minimums. Then you work yourself from there towards even more serious spiritual exercise. Yeah, because you exercise yourself toward godliness. Can I tell you something? Spiritual things are high. They are not low. You have to rise to them. They are not lowered to you. Yeah, you rise to spiritual things. It's more natural to eat than to fast. It's more natural to hoard than to give. It's more natural to not pray than to pray. It's more natural to sleep than to pray. It's more natural to gossip than to protect. Spiritual things, you have to rise to them. It's more natural to be indifferent than to love actively. Don't fall for nature. Rise to spiritual things. They told John in the book of Revelation, he said, come up here and I will show you things to come. This man was already in the spirit. Are you with me? John wasn't having a natural experience. He was having a spiritual experience where he was already, you see when it says, after this, I looked and behold a door standing open in heaven. He was already in the spirit on the Lord's day seeing incredible things. But even in that spiritual environment he was in, he says the first voice which I heard was like a trumpet speaking, saying, come up here and I will show you things which must take place after this. Even where he was in the spirit, there was another level. There are levels. The problem is that you have had a little bit of experience with God and you want to document it and turn it into a religion. There is more. There is more in God. What's the first thing? Seek God. Are you going to seek God? Are you sure? Yeah. Just in case you are not, you don't want to be left hanging as to what you're going to do, start praying at least an hour every day. Start fasting at least one day a week. Never compromise your 10% giving to God, and start reading the Bible, at least a chapter a day, and listening to messages. It's going to accelerate you. Amen. Hey, I'm giving you good wisdom. Yeah. My session is the last and it's practical. Yeah. This is what you're going to do now, beginning today, to make the best of the remaining years of your 20 to 30. Point 2. Are you ready for it? Discover and define your life's work. Discover and define your life's work. I was whispering to Pastor B3 that I think we need a 30-40 gathering. Yeah, because the matters there are different. We might even call it 30-50 to just include some other people who are a little bit over the hedge. But discover and define your life's work. Verse 14 and 15 says, of chapter 4, it says, do not neglect the gift that is in you, which was given to you by prophecy with the laying on of the hands of the eldership. Next verse. Meditate on these things. Give yourself entirely to them, that your progress may be evident to all. Yeah. The 20s is a decade of discovery. By 30, you should have decided which direction you're going in life. At 30, you can't still be wondering, am I into finance or fine art? No. Are you with me? By 30, there are not many people who do great after 30. There are not many. And everyone keeps pointing to KFC and Colonel Sanders. Look, that he is the outlier. All the other greats started early. Look, in the sports world, by 30, you are retired. Yeah. By 30, you are excess baggage in sports. Discover and define your life. When the books of history are opened, what will my name represent? You can't wait for 45. Do I want to plant a church? Do I want to start a business? Do I want... No. All the great men of God in ministry, they had crossed that threshold by that time. Kenneth Hagin, Chris Oyakilome, David Oyedepo, Doug Howard Mills, everyone. Look, God had mercy on me. Yeah, even as I talk here, right now, where I am, I'm a regretter. I'm talking to you as a regretter. But God had mercy on me and took me by spiritual chitoji like this. Yeah? And said, you're going to plant a church. I was 30. Almost. You know how you come and say, this is your part. Eh? Eh? When you come on the stage, they ask you this is what you say. Hey, yeah. Now you come on the stage, this is 20, that is 30. Then it's when you are here, about to go off, that you remember your lines. That was me. Elder Roots. I think it's called worship harvest. Okay, worship harvest. Yeah. That's why everything about me is high speed. I lost a whole decade. If this church had been planted when I was 20 years old, we would have more than 200, maybe 300 locations by now. I'm telling you the truth. All these little things you see around is because of starting late. Are there people? Define your life's work. Bill Gates started at 20, Steve Jobs started at 21, Mark Zuckerberg at 19, that's the Google boys, 20s, they define their life's work. Yeah, 20 to 30 are foundational years for career and calling. This is the time to be messing around. This is when you should work hardest. You get there before everyone else and you leave after everyone else. You're testing the limits. Music stars. Who do you know who started after 30 and they're a global phenomenon? Omolinayo. Oh, they all started as teenagers. And by their 20s, they have a huge following. Discover and define your life's work. Momentum. There's something called momentum. Momentum is the leader's best friend. That's the law of momentum. And you don't gain momentum by jumping from one thing to another or changing direction all the time. No. You gain momentum by hitting the same thing, applying your energy in the same direction over time. Before you know it, the thing is what? Moving, and now all you need to do is get out of the way because it might knock you. You've created momentum. People who stick with the same direction and the right intensity over time become great at what they do. Momentum equals focus plus intensity. 20 to 30 are the right years for incredible focus and intensity. At least be intense about the wrong thing so that you find out quickly that it is the wrong thing and you have time to find the right. But if you are lazy about even the wrong thing, yeah? Other people are like, you are like, dun. Dun. Meanwhile, God has called you to preach. So you preach once every 3 months. Dun. Because you're waiting for someone to give you an opportunity at a location. Dun. You don't know you can start a missional community and start preaching every day to them. Dun. Then 29, you discover, I don't like medicine. Look, if you're going to find out you don't like it, be intense at it and you find out you don't like it in a short time. And use that. You see, there are lessons you learn in anything. The greatest thing that happens about achieving great things is not the thing you achieve, is who you become in the process. Yeah. Look, even if I found out today that God didn't call me to be a church planter, the amount of wisdom I possess now, I can use in any field. Why? Because I'm intense. Yeah. Some of you, your lack of intensity, yeah, even the snail is wondering. Yeah. Even snails, they be like, that sister, we are like, as if we are relatives. Tell your neighbor, be intense. It is necessary. It says that if you give yourself entirely to them, your progress will be evident to all. Is your progress evident to all? Or someone has to first ask 900 people in your village before they can find out who you are. Like, do you know so-and-so? Do you know so-and-so? Meanwhile, we're not talking on national level. Just where you stay there in your LC1 locality. Bantuluenda, before they find, hey, you mean the other one? Ah! Yeah, he sometimes passes around. No, people. No. It's time for intensity. Do the wrong thing with intensity so you find out quickly and change direction. Yeah, you don't find out. 40? By the way, by 40, you see there is this thing of 20 to 30 is discovery. By 30, you should have decided, boom. By 40, you should have momentum. Yeah, by 40, you can't be doing beginner's work. By 40, you should be an authority. Because 40 to 50, that's why I'm interested in this other gathering, is acceleration. That's the time of high speed. You start reaping the what? The harvest of the seeds you sowed between 20 and 30. 20 and 30, you're really planting. You're planting. It's your first job. You're plowing. What? You're out working everyone. Yeah, your MC. What? 30 to 40, things are sprouting. People can tell, hey, this person is this. That person is that. This person is 30 to 40, right? Am I lying? Yeah. 30 to 40, things are sprouting. People, your name is starting to be dropped in certain what? Places. The seeds are starting to bring within things. From 40, is multiplication, speed, what? Yeah. And then when you hit 50, you start planning for the next generation. It's time to start handing over. And at that time, you need to have succeeded so that you're handing over success. You're not handing over, and even the people you are handing over to, they also don't want. You're like, yeah, you really want me to take over the location, okay. All right. That they are seeing the hard work they are going to put in. Because, Bambi, you have 13 people. Yeah. By that time, you're now moving to a new role of you start living the life you live when you've died. You see, if you're going to succeed when you've died, you have to first behave as if you're dead when you're alive. Yeah? Where now you are just observing, what did they do? Okay, how did they do this? Oh, so that's what they will do when I'm not around. Because you are not around, but you can get a report. Don't wait first hit 50. No? Yeah. Let's plant a location. Now, what the location is? Wake up, Mugongo Guruma, what? Abamoga Gambati, yes, we are father. Fetu Gambati, yes, Mula Mumulida Mugongo, Mulida Motifuba, Mulida Mukabina, Mulida Wana. Ngatowulida Yesu. You're just there trying to think. Yeah, between going to pray for 3 hours before the sermon and the grandkids, what should I choose? Are there people? Are you ready to be intense? Are you ready to define your life's work? Don't just hang around. The secret to life is not hanging around. Someone told their friend, I've found the secret to life. You just hang around. The purpose of life is not to safely arrive at death. Yeah. Where they tell you that, you see that one ahead there? That's your coffin. Then you start getting there safely. Okay. Let me organize myself. I don't want to annoy anyone. Then you go slowly. Yeah. Someone said most people died at 25. It's just that the funeral is waiting for when they turn 75. That's not your story. You are called to purpose. You are called, and you will define, you will discover, you will define your life's work. Yeah, I envy people like Pastor Solomon. Early starters, Pastor Blesso. Look, you're 25. Your location already has 600 people. When I was 25, I didn't have nothing. When I was 31, my location had like 16 people. You, by the time you turn 31, you'll be overseeing like 10,000 people. Or even more. Yeah. So imagine a guy like this at that pace. When he is 45, look, Solomon will be 45 in 20 years. This church hasn't been around even. This church has been here for only 15 years. And in the next 5 years, when it is around for 20 years, you will not recognize it. I guarantee you. Unless God lied to me. You will be like, is this the worship service that started in a restaurant? Now imagine her after 20 years having someone to follow. By the time she's my age and she's standing on a stage like this to speak, you think there will be people like that? You think it will be a room like this, small like this? To be stadium stuff. It is simple. Early start, guaranteed win. Now you'll be here. You want to take another 2 years. But seeking God about what? Come on. Yeah. Point 3. I have 7 at a time. Become an authority in your discipline. Now, once you discover and define your life's work, become an authority. Verse 12 to 13, which is very popular verses, which I discovered that there's a new way to look at them. Let no one despise your youth, but be an example to the believers in word, in conduct, in love, in spirit, in faith, in purity. Till I come, give attention to reading, exhortation to doctrine. So here is the thing. Paul knows what he's saying. He's saying everyone is going to try and despise your young age. Take that for granted. Your young people are going to look down on you. So don't be offended. Okay? And he says, here is the solution. Be an example. Yeah. Don't be able. Yeah. The Bible says, don't despise my youth. So please don't despise my youth. It doesn't say, let no one despise your youth, but tell them not to despise your youth. Is that what it says? It says what? Be an example. Let old people look at you and say, respect, maximum respect. You're young, but you have results. You are an authority. So they don't come bring their oldness around you. You know, I'm an elder here. No, you just be like, do you know covalent bonds? Yeah, become an authority. Dr. Okulo is an authority. Embryology. Have you ever heard of something like that? The only embryos you know about are the ones in the egg yolk of chicken. Chalaza. Some of you don't even remember Chalaza. Be an example. In what areas are you an authority and an example? Don't be average. Average is not worth living for. Yeah. Just suck in all that oxygen every day to be average. You have a heart that pumps properly and you decide to be average. That means it sends blood to your brain. Pulmonary vein and pulmonary artery. Do you remember them? Let me tell you something. Your heart has 4 chambers. Yeah? The right atrium and the left atrium. The right ventricle and the left ventricle. Why is your neighbor shaking their head? Huh? Waiting for? Migration of Bantu. And one of those things, when it pumps blood, it goes to your brain also. Yeah. So that you apply yourself. The brain is like a muscle. Yeah, it needs to be exercised. Yeah. The reason you don't think is because you don't think. Yeah. The brain can't just start whatever. No, you exercise. And then you become an authority in your discipline. Amen. In word, in the things you know. In conduct, in your general behavior. In love, in how you treat others. In spirit, in your walk with God. In faith, in your attempting great things. In purity, in the way you conduct yourself and the state of your heart. Amen. 1 Samuel 16:18 says, Then one of the servants answered and said, Look, I have seen a son of Jesse, the Bethlehemite, who is skillful in playing, a mighty man of valor, a man of war, prudent in speech, and a handsome person, and the Lord is with him. My goodness. What a CV. This is called a whole person. They are great at different things. Amen. Are you seeing yourself? They were talking about David, but I see you in David's life. Point 4. We are running out of time. Point 4. We're talking about the things that must happen before you are 30. What was the first one? Seek and know God. What was the second one? Discover and define your life's call. What was the third one? Become an authority in your field. What was the fourth one? I'm about to tell it to you. Serve in the ministry. Serve in the ministry. Are you here? I need more shouts for this point. Verse 6. If you instruct the brethren in these things, you will be a good minister of Jesus Christ, nourished in the words of faith and of the good doctrine which you have carefully followed. Verse 16. Take heed to yourself and to the doctrine. Continue them, for in doing this, you will save both yourself and those who hear. You are a savior of people. You are a savior. I didn't write it. It's there. You will save yourself and those who hear you. In other words, the only people you will save are those who hear you. You can't save those who are not hearing you. Wow. There are people. He told us to go make disciples of all, baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Doing what? Teaching them to observe, to obey. Until you become a teacher of people, you are not yet doing what you need to do. He says, if you instruct the brethren in these things, instruct the brethren, you will become a what? a good minister. What makes you a good minister is when you are an instructor of the brethren, a teacher of the brethren. Amen. Everyone should serve in the ministry. Every believer has a ministry. Every believer has a ministry. And every believer's ministry involves teaching the brethren. There is not a single ministry where there is no teaching. Get in the ministry. To be a good minister, you have to be an instructor. Now, can I tell you something? How do I do this? I know how to do this. There are levels of callings, I think. Or there are degrees to which your life can be effective. Right? Now, the place to look, and I'm not talking about whether you become a pastor or you continue to work in the corporate world, etc. That's not what I'm talking about. Wherever you are. The place to look to find how to be the most effective you'll ever be in this life is the life of Jesus. Unless you show me someone else who lived a more effective life. Because a person who prepares for 30 years and ministers for 3 years and has the greatest influence 2,000 years later, there is something about what they did. What does the Bible say? Jesus, Matthew 4:23. Let's read together. And Jesus went about all Galilee, doing what? Teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all kinds of sickness and all kinds of disease among the people. He repeats himself in chapter 9:35 with a little nuance there. What does he say? And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, doing what? Preaching, healing every kind of sickness. The Bible says in Acts 10:38, how God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and with the power, who went about doing good and healing all who were oppressed by the devil, for God was with him. Jesus, knowing that he had such a thin window of opportunity, I told you about window. This is what he decided to do with it. What did he do? Teaching, preaching, healing. Now, I also think that it doesn't matter what profession you're in, where you work, etc. If you are going to have anything close to what Jesus had and has in terms of impact in people's lives, those have to be your assignments. Teaching, preaching, healing. And anyone who excuses themselves from these things, excuses themselves from having the kind of impact Jesus would have through you. Jesus said, I will build my church and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. That's what he does. What is he doing? Building. He said, I will. So, he promised that that's what he will do, right? So, what do you think he's doing right now? Building his church. So, if you're not involved in building Jesus' church, you can have all the titles you want in the world and even claim to be a mature Christian, but you're not. You just have a reputation. Some people who ride on reputation, they are known as mature Christians, but when you ask them, show me the spiritual children you've produced, nothing. The only sign of maturity that is recognized by human beings is capacity to reproduce. I didn't mean the room to be cold at this time. I'm just telling you. Teaching? Who are you teaching? You can't say me I have no one to teach. That's impossible. Because the only way to make disciples is to what? To teach. To make disciples is to teach. Is to teach. When it says go make disciples, what is it? Go teach. So So that's why you should start a missional community. Once you start an MC, you can teach all you want. You can send people voice notes at midnight, in the morning, somewhere. Hey, you're always teaching. When you have no MC, even if you have titles in the before your name and after, you have nothing to teach. Yeah, you're just one of those reputable Christians. Yeah. And you can take it a step higher. Take it up a notch. Are you ready? To take it up a notch. Take it up a notch. Take it up a notch. Tell your neighbor, take it up a notch. Tell them I'm about to take it up a notch. I'm going to take it up a notch. Take it up a notch. Take it up a notch. Right now, right now. Take it up a notch. Are you ready to do? How do you take it up a notch? You plant a church. Mama. Once you plant a church, you've taken it up a notch. Because now, the teaching is about to go to a different stage. Yeah. The whole time. Now you have a whole congregation to teach. You now go from teaching people to teaching teachers. You see, that's why I believe personally. I might be biased, but I personally believe that the best church to belong to is Worship Harvest. Yeah. You show me another church where a person like Pastor Solomon is a pastor. Yeah. This is the why? Because this church is set up to help everyone live the life Jesus lived of teaching, preaching, and healing. Everyone. Yeah. Like you just decided, me, I've refused. I will not do it. But the opportunities are there. Yeah. Teaching, preaching in this church. Look, you can wake up tomorrow and say, send me anywhere. I'm ready to go. And I have right now more than 500 things, a list of 500 places right now where we need to go in the next 18 months. Yeah. I'm telling you, 500. I have a list. I have a list on my phone of 5, and all within Uganda. Yeah. Now, you don't even have to get a passport. 500. Yeah. And you'll go there and you'll be teaching people every week, 3 times. You'll be like Sunday gather, you'll teach them. You even teach in the local language if you want. Then you'll be like, I will be back on Saturday, and when I come on Saturday, we start early. 7 a.m. I'm teaching you. You first sit, I tell these people what's going on. Yeah. There are places that we have identified. And all you need to do is, on Saturday, you pack your whole, instead of going to the beach, you pack your whole family, wife, kids, what, drinks, what, you drive there. 2 hours, maybe 3. You reach and you teach the whole day. Because it's a new church. They don't know all these Andrew Mark things that we've been arguing about here for 15 years. They don't know about Mike Breen. They don't know John Maxwell. They don't know Bishop Doug. So you must start with high speed. Yeah, we're going to do this all town councils in Uganda. 540 something. 585. Yeah, almost 600. You go Saturday Nova Somesa. What? Grace, faith, works, honor, giving, loving your wife, bitchy, what? Using deodorant even if you're in the whatever, 5 capitals. Yeah? Straightforward financial growth, casting out demons, healing the sick. Yeah. What to do? Ministry of comfort, Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues. You just go. You teach until you can barely walk. You know, some people think that teaching is entertainment. It's because you haven't done it. You see us here when we talk the whole day. You come, you don't want even anyone to call your name. You just be like, bring the juice, bring the brown nuts, bring the popcorn, switch on the TV and don't talk to me. You teach. Yeah. Then you and your whole family, you go to a nearby hotel of one of the congregants. They host you on the night. And then Sunday morning, you are unleashed garage, business garage. Yeah, 9 o'clock, 11:15 in your local language of wherever they are. Or you get a muvunuzi. Yeah. Then at 1 o'clock, after you've finished and they've brought you all their chickens and ducks and avocados and potatoes, your boot is full of the harvest. Until they don't have money. Their offering is like that. You put the kids in the car. They were the ones running children's church meanwhile. I'm showing you how you can live your life in a way that you will not regret it. I am showing you.
Put them in the car. Drive back to Kampala. Get back tired, fulfilled, satisfied. Monday, kids to school, you're going to work. You send your report to your cluster leader of what happened at the location. And then the next Friday, the next Saturday, this time you get one of your disciples, say, we are going together. The other town that the Lord has given us. Now instead of one car, there are 2 cars. Not to worship people, you have cars. You've been accused of having money. Now this is the time for those accusations to count. You reach there, you and your disciples, you minister, you teach the whole Saturday. You teach everything. You repeat things. Yeah, you repeat what. Then you go and sleep. Now you have a team to debrief. The previous it was only your wife or husband. Now it's a whole team. How did that go? What? Yeah. All the, you want, the notes are all available. You just need to talk to the right people. So Sunday you garage. Then they bring the avocados. What? Goat. The other day we went somewhere. This true story. With these guys, we went somewhere deep. When we were leaving, they gave each of us a goat, a real live goat. Yeah. 5 goats, 1 per person. Yeah. Ours, we are going to eat it tomorrow. Not everyone is invited. You come back. And then one of those weekends, you have what? There is something at the school, kids' school. You tell your disciple, now, the other thing you've seen me doing, now go and do. Yeah, you give me a report. Guys, you will never become great just sitting in that chair at your location. No, it's not going to happen. You will get all the goosebumps you want about the message. You will get all the feelings. You will fall whatever number of times you want. But until you get out and say, I am a sent person. I am an apostle. I have been sent by Jesus. Sit down, I have to finish. This is so unfair. Yeah, serving the ministry. Numbers chapter 8, verse 23 to 26. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, this is what pertains to the Levites. From 25 years old and above, one may enter to perform service in the work of the tabernacle meeting. And at the age of 50 years, they must cease performing this work and shall work no more. Yeah.
Tell your neighbor your days are numbered. Because 25 came and passed, and 50 is threatening. No shouts. Number 5.5, find mentors and fathers. Find mentors and fathers. Chapter 3, 1 Timothy, this is where it started, the story. Chapter 3, verses 14 to 15. Together, these things I write to you, though I hope to come to you shortly. But if I am delayed, I write so that you may know how you ought to conduct yourself in the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and ground of truth. Timothy was blessed to have a mentor and a father called Paul. He would instruct him. He would tell him, I'm telling you these things. This is how you see all these things we're writing, we've been studying. It was a private letter to Timothy. This is how you should conduct yourself. Do you have someone who can write to you and tell you how you ought to conduct yourself in the house of the Lord? The slowest way to live life is to live without a mentor, without a discipler. You see, all the wounds you carry right now could have been avoided if someone could have showed you the way around the thing that hurt you. 1 Corinthians 4, 16 to 17. What does Paul say? Therefore, I urge you. People don't want to read this one. Does he say, I urge you imitate the angels? Does he say, I urge you try and copy some things, but leave out the rest? What does imitation mean? Exactly what the other person is doing is what you do. And here is what even more interesting, because he's writing to the Corinthians. And what does he say in the next verse? For this reason, I have sent Timothy, who is my beloved and faithful son in the Lord, who will remind you of my ways in Christ as I teach everywhere and every time. In other words, when Timothy comes, I have come. You to imitate me, just look at Timothy. To imitate me, look at Timothy. That's what Paul is saying. You who are the people, you see the principle, truth is consistent. Water flows from upstream, downstream. Water can't flow from upstream and stop here. That creates a dam. And water can't flow from here downstream. That's a spring. But for a river, water flows from upstream, downstream. For people to imitate you, you must be imitating people. Paul is telling the Corinthians, Timothy is coming. Just imitate him. Why? He imitates me. He's my beloved son in the Lord. Wow. This is the opposite principle from the previous one. The previous one was serve in the ministry. What that means is make disciples. Have sons and daughters. Now, for that to happen, you must have fathers and mothers and mentors. Are you the first generation person in your family? Those of you who have children, were you created from dust? You have no fathers. The reason you have children is because you have a father and a mother in the natural. And the reason you don't have spiritual children is that you lack a father and mother in the spiritual. Such is even by the way. It's not too complicated. Yeah, and some of you are even offended by this language. I didn't come up with it. Didn't Paul call Timothy his beloved son? Was Paul Timothy's dad? No, Timothy's dad was a Greek guy. So if it offends you to be called someone's son or daughter, it means that there is a problem with you, because I've never met anyone who desires orphanhood. To me, I don't want fathers and mothers. You have an independent spirit. You carry an orphan spirit. Yeah. There are people. Even me, I'm watching my clock, which has come to 0. I wish I could. I wish I could tell you how bad it is to carry an orphan spirit, which I did for many years. Like for you, you are a competitor the whole time. Yeah. People are to be taken advantage of. And everyone, you think everyone wants to take advantage of you. Anyone who tries to help you are like this, you're already waiting for the catch. Where is the catch? You're calculating. All relationships are calculative. You're always seeking the advantage in every relationship. You never approach anything where it's a case of, let's just do love here. No, it's all about, what can I get? What do they want? Can I give them what they want? Yeah. You are transactional. Because you've never been loved for just because you were a child. I can tell you, may God heal you. Yeah. Because it's not a good way to live. You know, when you carry an orphan spirit, even when God gives you fathers and mothers, you understand that I'm using multiple. Yeah, because like in this church, you have many fathers and mothers. And it's you to decide whether you say, you receive them as fathers and mothers or not. You just say, Jesus said we shouldn't call each other what? Father. But also he said don't call each other teacher. So why do you call people teacher? Same scripture. You know, so you mean Paul was defying Jesus? But meanwhile, you read these scriptures. It's not that no one wants to impose anyone by the way, anyone but what father, no. Yeah, actually, I would rather you use other words for me personally in Zenganzi. Yeah. Because when you start using those words, the sense of responsibility just becomes too much. You suddenly make me responsible for your well-being. Fathers, here's why you need a good father, mother, mentor, whatever you want to call them. One, they encourage you. Yeah. Good fathers see more in you than you see in yourself. Yeah. They encourage you. They call greatness out of you. Every single human being doubts themselves, except perhaps Donald Trump. And we all need voices that call greatness out of us. Your children can't call greatness out of you, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah. God has positioned fathers to be the ones that call greatness out of children, not children to call greatness out of fathers. Yeah. You see, your children will never call greatness out of you. They can pump you all they want, but you are longing for a father's voice to say, well done. That was great. I believe in you. You're doing the right thing. You're awesome. This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased. Yeah, not this is my beloved father in whom I'm well pleased. Or not this is my beloved colleague in whom I'm well pleased. No. Yeah. All your colleagues can say all they want about your great performance. It will mean little. All you ever wanted is that voice to say, awesome. And then you start dancing inside. Am I lying? Yeah. You know, it's the people at the front recognize these things. The people towards the back, they are like in a different world altogether. Yeah. Because you need a father and a mother in your life. someone who just believes in you. You mess up big time, and they'll come and tap you on the shoulder and say, it's okay. Let's keep going. Try again. Yeah. I'm telling you. And if you want old people to be your fathers, then you have to go look for them. Because the ones here in this church, they are not old. No, they are not old. They are operated by the Spirit. Amen. So fathers, mothers, mentors, disciples, whatever you want to call it, they encourage you. People, you see, you haven't realized the need for encouragement because you haven't attempted great things yet. Yeah, people who do small things, they think they can live with no encouragement. The day you try to take a mountain, stuff will come from everywhere and you'll be like, what? Yeah, that's when you'll know, I need a father. I need someone to just say, it's okay, we believe in you. I'm telling you. You know when you're doing all this normal little stuff here, 50 by 100 plot, small house. We are talking about when you decide that a district in this country, Uganda, is going to be redeemed and brought to Christ. Yeah. The day you make such decisions, you will see the devil in 3D. Yeah. And that's when you'll be like, I need to call someone now. Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you. You'll be like, I need a number which I can call and there is no judgment on the other side. Yeah. You need fathers. They encourage you. They correct you. They correct you. Everyone needs correction. They cover you when in trouble. Have you ever done dumb stuff? And then someone came and covered you? Yeah, we're like, that was dumb. How dumb thou art. How dumb thou art. And they're like, repeat. How. Now you're singing it to yourself. How dumb thou art. How dumb thou art. Then someone shows up and says, oh, it's okay. I know this person. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take care of it. I'm an architect by training. I also was an architect. And I had to help someone close, but important in my life, to take measurements of the windows and doors of their house because we were going to make orders from China many years ago. Instead of going to do it myself, I sent a colleague who went and took measurements of the width, but not the heights, and made an assumption of the heights. And people ordered a whole container of windows from China with glass in them of the wrong height. They couldn't fit. How dumb thou art. How dumb thou art. Yeah. He never said anything to me about it. Yeah, I knew I'd botched it. just covered me. They got local contractors, removed the glass, extended the windows, it took double the cost. You see, you're seeing dumb right now. You think you're the only dumb one? There are people. He just come and say, no, we'll take care of it. Some of them may even first blast you a little bit, then they take care of it. Yeah. I say, okay, let's go. Then they give you the same task again. You're like, they cover you, they promote you. They promote you. In this church, I'm always trying to promote people. I'm like, you can be a location pastor. Even right now, I'm trying to promote people. In this room right now, and some are pretending to be asleep. They don't know that I see that there is a great future in them. Always promoting. Like, start an MC. That's promoting. What do you think that is? You go from just being there, solo, to being a spiritual parent. Start an MC. Oh, grow it, multiply it. Oh, you're now a cohort shepherd. You are now an overseer of MCs. I see in you a location. See the other place there. Do you want to try? Just take this one, that one. Just try. If it doesn't work, you can always come back. Yeah. In other churches, you try that. Then before you know it, it somehow works. We come and celebrate anniversary. Chukube. Okay. You know you can start hosting centers for your location. Like when you start hosting centers, all those people who go to those hosting centers, those will be members of your location. Yeah, like now your location is a multi-site church. Then one hosting center works, then another. Then I can say, you know what? Do you know what it means when you have all those hosting centers? I think you're a cluster leader. Because all you need to do is convert that one hosting center into a location. The other one into a location. Before you know it, you're a bishop. You oversee churches. Hey. Then you're there cluster leading. Then I say, you know what? You can take over a whole region. Have you thought about it? They promote. They're always promoting. They introduce you to their connections. Hey, be like, come escort me. And you go and you meet people who do things that make your brain go like this. I'm out of time. They teach you, so you spend less time. They give you counsel. Number 6. 7 things that must happen between 20 and 30. Do you want to know number 6? Find a spouse and get married. Come on, shout out. If you're going to find a spouse and get married between 20 and 30, make some noise. Yeah. Find a spouse and get married. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 to 3. Now the Spirit expressly says, we're out of time, that in the latter times some will depart from the faith. Are you there? Read with me. Giving what? Heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their own conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry. Forbidding to marry. And commanding to abstain from foods which God created be received with thanksgiving. Now, unless you are like Paul and God called you to celibacy, which is a real calling in the Bible. Yeah. But also it's not for many people. So you can't have too many people showing up saying, I think I'm in the Paul anointing. No. You need to embrace this thing called marriage. Now, I'm out of time because there is actually a wedding starting right now where I have to preach. But he talks about deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. Okay? Right now in the world, especially from the West, Europe and America, there are 3 big-time culture wars the church is involved in. And I'm going to teach you something that I learned from Pastor Chris Hodges, which is extremely important for you to know. Please, I want you to pay attention real close. There are 3 things where the enemy has been pushing for more than 100 years now. And the idea is that this push against truth is aimed at the first commandment. The first commandment that God gave Adam and Eve, to be fruitful, multiply, and subdue the earth. These 3 things are divorce, abortion, and homosexuality. Don't think it's just about Democrats and Republicans, liberal versus conservative. No, it's about fruitfulness. Those 3, they are like the unholy trinity from hell. It's the unholy trinity from hell. Divorce is subtle, but it's serious. Also, it seems to be one where the war is already lost, pretty much. But it's not time to throw in the towel, at least as Christians. Why? When children experience divorce in the families in which they grow up, they do not desire marriage because of the pain. Yeah, because of the pain. So it's subtle because it's not immediate effect. It affects the next generation. Am I making sense? Abortion is straightforward. Take the fruit out before it comes. Homosexuality is even more interesting. Don't even introduce the fruit. So, what's the solution? Get married and remain married. Yeah. That's the solution. It's not about treating what? It's getting married and remaining married. And there's enough wisdom for you to be married happily for life. Do not entertain a life that is not sexually pure. I'm telling you, it's from the unholy trinity. I've told you the unholy trinity. Yeah. Because if you entertain it before marriage, you'll entertain it after marriage and it will lead to divorce. A lack of faithfulness. Okay. So get married, stay married. When is the best time to get married? 20. Yeah. Earlier. So you first be around and then You know, even nature shows us. There's a certain count which is highest at 25. Right? I'm looking at the embryologist here. Yeah. We're online. Some people may be watching with their kids, so I don't want to freak them out. But after 25, the numbers start going down. We have the swimmers. There are fewer and fewer swimmers. So when they fire the gun, boom, and say start. Hey, few people are aimed at the target. Am I preaching? So this business of wanting to first buy a helicopter before you marry, building a house before you marry, I wish I had time. Are there people? Yes. People are just tempting the devil. Yeah. Until even the devil tells God, really, me, I didn't want to do this. Look, you love the person. They love you. You love Jesus. Then you finish all the chickens, you finish all the sausages, no ring. Hey! Marriage is a risk whichever way you look at it. And it is a risk worth taking. The earlier you start, the better. The more time you have to adjust. Look, when two people get married, you're getting an experience of a whole lifetime and merging it with an experience of a whole lifetime. Now, when people get married at 30, you're bringing together 60 years of experience, which must be what? Forgotten and merged into one experience. The person is already set in their ways. Look, by a certain age, your keys are kept in a certain place every day. Otherwise, you can't find them. Yeah, I'm telling you, you can't find them. Yeah, by a certain age, your keys are in the same place. Your socks are in a certain place. Everything. You iron a certain way, you do things a certain way, the hair is a certain way, by a certain age. Then you bring all that unbendableness. I fell in love. And now you have to start unlearning 30 years of life to merge with another person. It's not, don't wait. I'm telling you. Look, there is nothing better about marriage at an older age than a younger one. Yeah, it's not there. Nothing in my knowledge and experience. If you wait, your marriage will be better. No. I haven't encountered people whose marriages are better just because they married later. No. Rather, is the Alisa, when you are young and funky, true or not true? Forbidding to marry. How do people forbid to marry? expensive weddings. Look, we had one of the best weddings you will ever hear about. Hear about because we don't know where the video went. But at our wedding, we figured out how many people we could actually host. And we set that number. Everyone else had to buy their own card to access the wedding. 18 years now and we're still married. You think you're the mayor. You're going to feed the whole city before you can have a wedding. You lack wisdom. This business of people borrowing, people hiring cars from the bond to go and impress in-laws. They even take gifts which they hired from a shop. They are not going to stay to show off to the villagers and to Omukomo Gaga. What? This is so crazy. This is from the pit of hell. Forbidding to marry, expensive weddings, complicated in-laws. They want a man with 3 legs instead of 2. Unrealistic expectations. Unrealistic expectations of yourself, of the person you're going to marry, and of your friends. Forbidding to marry. You people, worship harvest. Wake up and smell the coffee. There is a window. You see all those boys, your boys are mamaso. One time you'll wish for them. The window has closed. Yeah. Let me tell you a secret. This is a secret. Sit down, I tell you a secret. Do you know why girls typically in church There are 2 problems with church relationships that get the girls to always think that the boys are not ready. One, they say, Christian brothers are slow and dull. Slow. Now here is the thing. Those boys you're calling slow, they look slow because they are keeping themselves pure. They've not been practicing. Now the girls, the ones you want who look smooth, they've been sampling the whole village, and you're just going to be the next victim. That's why they look as if they know what they are doing. The ones in church look like they don't know what they are doing because they are keeping them. Look, they just shop for rehearsals, serving God. What? They're not going around trying to sleep with girls. That's why they look slow. Look, I'm a man. Let me tell you, it is extremely stupid to hook up with a man who is not a believer. I'm telling you. Let me tell you, I'm a man. You see, I'm your pastor. As your pastor, I can tell you that I face temptation with women. I do. The only thing that keeps me is because I have a commitment to God and to my wife. It's a commitment. It's nothing. Well, don't clap. Now, imagine if I were your husband and I don't have that commitment. Yeah. That's what you're getting when you want to go with the smooth boys who look like them. They look like they know what they are doing because they have already been testing the whole village. And you're just one of the sample items. Second secret. Are you ready for the second secret? Typically, this is going to shock some of you, but the moment I say it, you're going to know it's the truth. Typically, men are late developers. They are late bloomers. Men are typically about 5 years behind women in everything. A 25-year-old man behaves like they are 20 years. While a 25-year-old girl behaves like they are 25. It is because girls go through an experience when they are around 13, 14, which transitions them into womanhood. They immediately notice, I have matured. There are things happening to my body that mean I'm no longer a girl, I'm now a woman. So they start, look. Yeah, the boys don't have that experience. They don't have a passage of rites experience, except if you are from Bali and they circumcise you. That's the purpose, by the way, of that, is to say, hey, wake up, you're no longer a boy. That's why you find a 30-year-old man in his mother's bedroom, staying at home, with a corporate job, they can afford everything, and they are as if they are a real boy of 15. They are not fake. They are just, they haven't gone through a rites of passage experience that tells them you're no longer a boy, you're no longer a boy. That's why they come to church and you're thinking, oh, these boys, don't talk to me, don't touch me. No, look. Am I making sense? So you see the reason that boy is very offensive to you when they even try to say, can we be friends? Because you're like, this cowboy. Meanwhile, he's older than you by like 3-4 years. Now he's like a cowboy to you. Why? You've been having your periods for many years. You know you were a woman. For them, they are still trying, am I a man or am I not? When my wife married me, she took a radical step of faith. Those who were around know what I am now and what I was then. I was literally the small boy around church, like. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. Even back then, my salary was 150,000 shillings. Look, even back then, 150,000 was very small. Yeah. Could hardly pay rent. That was me. Now very parents, professors, not in my house, where I couldn't pay rent for like 4 months. Look, today I am growing. Don't judge a person by where they are today. Think, because marriage is not for today. Marriage is for life. I'm just telling you, boys develop later. That's why you don't like them, the ones in church. They are still developing. And that's why God said, I'll make him a helper. Why? He is lost without one. I'll make him a helper. You're the one to look at that boy and say, you know what, dude, I believe in you. Now better give me something to believe in. Yeah. And start Start helping turn him into the man of your dreams. Lastly, I'm out of time. Hey, no, I promised. Keys to marriage. The first one is what? Humility. What's the second one? Humility. What's the third one? Girls, stop walking around like a peacock. Be humble. Be humble. Yeah, the boys will find you very quickly. Humility. Mary was humble. Wait, Pastor, come rescue this whole assembly from me. Humility. Now, boys, it's the same thing. It's humility. And the key to staying married is still humility. Yeah. If you get in and you think, I'm the big deal, going, Toja kumalako. Wetowazi, kakana, gonda. Obufumbo, ojja kufuna omwami oba omukyala omukume for life. Help me finish this session.
You guys first get up on your feet and appreciate Apostle Moses. Wow. People want the number 7. First give him some love as he runs to the wedding that started 21 minutes ago. All right, be seated. Do you want to know the 7th point? Naye kano ka number 6 mukategedde. Temukategedde. Nkwatemu. What time will we leave? I'm supposed to be at that wedding also. You know, we had this conversation with Apostle Moses. How many weeks ago was it? About 2 weeks ago. So we were hanging out with him and he just said, one of those days where we get a break and we say, let's have lunch in the middle of town after he had finished teaching. And we were telling him, Nae Papa, me, I told him, I want my girls to get married. The boys in church are not talking to the girls. The girls in church are being complicated. We need to do something. Because you see, between 20 and 30, I want to first speak to the young ladies because I'm a lady. You're a hot item. And it can fill your head. What we don't want to happen is for you to get to the place where now you're saying, Lord, anything, anyone. But for us, what helped, there's so much movement in the room. I'm a bit distracted. So if you could please settle down. And for me, we had to ask Apostle, what is the problem? And he said, what he has taught us today. For me, it was revelatory. I won't lie to you. I remember even Pastor Solomon saying, I've understood. Because he said humility, and we said, okay. We've taught the ladies humility, but Apostle, the gentlemen also. Sometimes just the way you're dressed, the way you look, the things you do, it makes it difficult. Then that's when he explained what he just explained. That you see, the men in the world are on a market. They've been taught how to attract a young woman, how to dress, the perfume, the cologne to buy, the kind of gifts to buy. Everything, they're on a market looking for a victim. And that's why they can play 5 different girls at a go. Because they're on a market. So they are sharp. So the boys in church look like they are slow because they are not your movie boy. They are not of the world. They are not trying to they are not on the market trying to play with girls' minds. They are following God. They are praying for a spouse. They look slow. They don't dress too good. They are not fly. They are not going around giving gifts to every girl and confusing her. They need to be taught, yes. But you see, you need to understand that it is he who finds. Now, if you're the man and your job is to find, and the girls look so complicated, I'm telling you, I've been talking to some of my sons, and they're scared of the girls. Because girls, the way we talk, you see, it's not about, it's how they hear you. You're around her, the way she meet those women who are what? Women, he's listening, he's saying, hey, I can't try that one. That one, if I marry her, she will kill me. You know? And when I think about some of us, I think why we got married young, it was, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. There was not much. Jeremy keeps telling me I'm the most uncomplicated bride he ever met. And I remember my maid of honor telling me the same thing. Pastor Lynette, she said, I've never seen a bride like this. I'll tell you, I told my bridesmaids, choose what you want to wear. If you can afford it, these are the colors. My maid of honor, I told her the same thing. Find a tailor who you like. Tailor, these are the colors. She said, are there specific shoes? I'm like, no. Don't you have shoes? Wear them. Jewelry, I'm like, don't you have jewelry which is golden? Wear it. What do we do with hair? Go to your favorite salon. You'll come in the morning. They style you the style you want. Okay. I went, I had a gown, which I could afford. I didn't care about deco. I'm not saying that you have to be that sort of person, but that, what are you really, what are your conditions for marriage? Are they worth it? I told my husband to choose his deco, which he liked, because I told him, really, I don't care. I just want a good marriage. I've seen enough of these big weddings. 2 weeks later, they can't be together. It doesn't matter. These things that we do to show off, to prove something. Some of you, the decisions you're making concerning marriage are out of fear. You saw your father not take care of finances, so any man who looks like he doesn't have a house, a Range Rover, and a what, but those things can also disappear. We've seen people who have had it and lost it. That can't be your decision maker. Okay? I'm telling you, when Jeremy started dating me, you see him now. When Jeremy was dating me, he cornered me in a taxi. Our love was taxi love. Taxi and boda. Dr. Emmanuel Okulo, taxi and boda. Pastor Chris Nsubuga, taxi and boda, plus some other strange things, which included spaghetti, which had what? Sugar. He was trying to be creative. He put sugar instead of salt. They almost chucked him. Taxi and boda. Jeremy would come and pick me during ministry time and pick me on he would come on a boda, pick me on my own boda. Sometimes if things were tight, we shared the boda. We went together, we arrived. He dropped me home in a taxi. I'm not saying a special hire. As in tuli mu taxi kamunye. Tuli banji na ye bantwala nze. You understand? My boyfriend drops me in the taxi kamunye. Hey, am I talking at all? But I saw a man whose heart was after God. And I knew that if he's connected to my heavenly Father, we will be okay. There was no Uber. We've been married 13 years. Goyagala Uber, eh? You will be fine. Jeremy lived in his parents' home until a few months to our wedding. When my relatives asked me, I would just say he lives in Mengo and not add in his father's house. It was true, he lived in Mengo. Was it a lie? It was not a lie. I covered. I had seen those who moved out a year earlier. Where did you get the notion that a man must move out before he gets married? Where is it biblically? Isaac married his wife in his parents' home. I'm shaking tables. Get spiritually minded, daughters of mine. Become spiritually minded. Many of you admire the men we've married, but you don't know where we came from. You've seen them 10 years later, you do not know. We had to have faith. We had to see something of substance beyond what the eye could see. I knew my husband couldn't afford dowry. I talked to my auntie. It had to be scrapped. So he knew in his heart when they were there threatening his father that it was just for tradition. After that, they would tell them at dinner that, by the way, those cows, you can have them. But we are building something. Our children will have the capacity to do whatever they want. You have to look beyond what you can see now. That man had to take a chance on me as well. My wedding, he chose the cake. He chose the deco. You know what? It doesn't matter. Maybe when we are 25 years in marriage, I'll care about cake and deco. Those things don't make a marriage. I kept telling him, babe, if we're the only ones who show up, we will get married. We'll find a witness in the church. I'm not going to get stressed. We borrowed cars from our friends for our wedding. One was, what kind of car for the bridesmaids? It wasn't even a Benz. What kind of car was it? A Mitsubishi from JK. He gave it to us. We put in fuel. We drove ourselves. Then someone had a Benz. There were 2 Benzes from friends. We borrowed them. Why are you spending 300,000 on cars you don't own to drive them for 2 hours to impress people who won't care and will talk about you when you're in financial trouble? Who are you trying to impress? I'm now told, people were telling me here that people take forged gifts for introductions, that you hire a car and pretend that you've given. What kind of hypocrisy and madness is that? How can you build such a foundation for your marriage? Absolute dishonor to your people. It's demonic. You are in this world, but you must understand you're not of this world. What are you copying? We spent a whole year in counseling. We looked for Pastor Lynette and Chris because we looked and we admired their marriage so much. And they opened their life to us. People were telling us the first year will be the hardest. We waited for a hard year. It wasn't coming. Do you know why? We prepared for marriage, not the wedding. Many of you spend all your time planning a wedding on Pinterest, stressing, spending money you don't have. Then you get married and you don't know what to do with a man or a woman. Because you spend time on nonsense. Cheap things for Instagram. Who will care when you're dying in your marriage because you have an Instagram picture? Rubbish. Rubbish. I lived in homes of very rich people with very broken marriages. Could afford everything. Some of you, it's about money. If he can't. Okay, marry the money and be happy that that's all you're getting. You will marry money and you will cry many tears. Money is a thing. You can build. There are principles. You can start where you are. We started saving our money. Putting it, our wedding was not I don't even think our wedding cost 30 million. I'm telling you guys, and 13 years ago is not a very long time ago. People were still doing weddings of 100 million, 200. Ours was less than 30. Do you know where we put out? He's 22 million. And we didn't, and you know, it was 22 million, you guys. My relatives talked about the venue. How can you go to such a place? I'm like, if you feel that you want to take us to another place, pay. You want to impress people? Pay. This is what we can afford, and I'm not embarrassed about it. One day we will afford a bigger one, but I'm not trying to live a life I don't have. Pretending to be what you're not will not make you that thing. Embrace where you are, well knowing that there will be more. Recently, I was talking to some of my spiritual daughters and telling them, age doesn't matter. You can marry a younger man. It really doesn't matter. Those are all what? I named for them people who they didn't even know are married to each other, and the man is younger by 7 years, 5 years. There's one of 9 years. I told them, who cares? You see, the things of the spirit, they can't be. Some of you are struggling right now. Where did you get the idea that the person needs to be older? What will it help you with? Tell me, how does age help you? Are you here or you've left? Did you come for truth today? Who are you listening to? Who is informing you about who you should choose to marry? How great is their marriage? Mulimu women's movements, which break down men, and you think you will marry a man. You will end up with your girlfriends for life. You sit with them, you break down man after man, man after man, and that spirit carries. The men can sense that you think they are nothing. I was telling them, ladies, listen to me. If you find a gentleman who loves Jesus and is committed to him, they were telling me that they are boring. I said, those are the best. They'll give you peace. You see, you want Mr. Spontaneous? Don't come to us crying when he's very spontaneous when you get married. Spontaneous with another woman, spontaneous with bank accounts, spontaneous with debts, because you want spontaneous. Then you find this one who looks so boring. It's very predictable. You know where he is from morning to evening. You can tell who he's with, what he's doing at any given time. Those are the ones you should marry quickly. Quickly, boa ring, boa. It means that they are predictable. They have character. They are, you don't understand, You're not there worried wakati when he says he's here, is he there? Aren't you wanted spontaneous? Because you saw it in the movie. I married one of the most predictable men you will ever find. And I have peace. Peace. We were dating and I would be in Ginger for my field work, and I could tell you from morning to evening what my husband is doing at every hour of the day. And you know what? That's better than being there with your heart beating all the time, wondering, calling at work to see if he's there, checking over what, checking. I know what the man is doing all the time. Memoria, you're looking spontaneity. He's so boring. Marry him quickly. If you find a boa, marry quickly. Those are gold. Gold. Then you can be spontaneous on his behalf. He's not stopping you from being spontaneous. You be spontaneous. You suggest spontaneous. But ladies, I'm serious, and I'm speaking to you because we are the ones hearing the most nonsense. If you speak to most of the men, Bambi, they're scared of us. We are so complex. Tukakane, ladies. Tukakane. Everything you've believed, ask yourself, from where have I got that? Is it from the word of God? Is it from... The Bible says, let the older women teach the younger women how to love. In the word of God, marital love can be taught. It's not an emotion. It can be taught. So come to older women and ask them, this is the man. What do you think? You see, when you've been married 13 years, you smell chaos from a distance. He comes sharp, what talking, you're like, get behind me. You sense something is off. But some of you come to the pastor at the point of marriage. Give them a card. What do? We say, oh, congratulations. Then you wait. And asking you for a contribution. Who are you marrying? Maybe he doesn't dress well. Is that a deal breaker? You can teach him how to dress. Really, you just Papa bless oba muyigiriza. Papa bless oya yambala bubinyo. Baby amuyigiriza labakati. Now that boy looks so nice now. Some of you look at him and say, singa banange sebamu wasa in the spirit madenda ba potential. Now someone got him and katira ba kaviri. Papa, chitegera. Aliyawo, he dresses so good. He looks so fine. You don't know that they found him with sharp shoes and gentle trousers and you imagine a 19-year-old with cufflinks, black tie. Bichevyo, Papa blesso nawe. And apparently when he tried to date Kobabi, she first thought, no, I'm not able to manage. So some of you, the cowboy looks so loco. He dresses so badly. Some of them smell bad. You can buy him a deodorant. It's not a deal breaker. You can talk to his pastor and say, Musumba, kavuka. Neba mugamba shevu, baby, deodorant. Then he comes back and you help him out to... Guys, they were just not parented well. Some of these boys grew up like little wild somethings. Too many sons, maybe raised by a father who doesn't know about grooming. Just need to teach him. Man on top and too much prayer. They're always praying, prayer mountain. What? A little bit. They've not bathed. They've been in fasting for 2 days. When they say hello, you almost faint. Ladies, I'm coming to the gentlemen. Don't worry. But ladies, remember we are the ones to be found. So be findable. Humble yourself. Put away your degrees. They're not marrying degrees. Be a human being. Be careful how you talk. Ask older women. Because the truth is you desire marriage, many of you. So don't pretend that you don't care. You care. And the quicker the years go, the harder it becomes. So all those ideas, age. He must have a house, he must have a car. By this age, whose story are you writing? Are you God? Who told you that at a particular age a man should have ABCD? Do you know where they came from? By the time Pastor Lynette got married to Pastor Chris Bambi, had you finished even university? He had 2 trousers and 5 shirts. And no degree. Rikashata. 2 trousers, 5 shirts and no degree. What a CV. Some of you see Pastor Chris here and you're like, I'm a footer. Guy you are. Since if I can get a man like Pastor Chris, then they bring him with 2 trousers, 5 shirts and no degree, and you refuse. And they've been multiplied. Ladies, if you find a man who loves Jesus deeply, on the outside he may look rough around the edges. Talk to an older spiritual woman and do what she says. And you will live a life of no stress and a good marriage. You're listening to the world too much. There are not too many shouts and amens from the ladies, but I hope that you're opening your heart. Why? Listen to me. I've been married 13 years. I'm very happily married. My friends have been married long. They are happily married. We know a thing or two about what we are talking about. And we love you enough not to tell you things which should kill you. Why would we come here to set you up for no success? We want what's best for you. Gentlemen, don't make things too difficult also you. If you're here at the 2030 gathering, gentlemen, please, bare minimum. Body odor. It's a serious turn-off. Maybe you don't even know. But Ngambi, if you don't shave and bathe well and put on antiperspirant, forget about deodorant for men. Your body odor is stronger. So wear antiperspirant. What is that antiperspirant called that is best for men? Old Spice. Old Spice. Gentlemen, go to the supermarket. It's about 15,000 shillings. There's one that is a stick. Me, I like to go proper. Let's not even go into it. Get Old Spice. Remember to bathe before mixing it with. Brush your teeth and your tongue. If you're fasting, be chewing gum or drinking water, because if the mouth is always closed, then you come close to talk to the sister. She might not remain in the same spirit. It's called the moving anointing. They move away. They move you away from them. Gentlemen, ekintu cha finances. I know that I can't expect you to be or a billionaire from the beginning. Many of us have gone through a lot. But be doing something. Don't be those brothers who hang around doing nothing, praying, believing God. What does that mean? Believing God is active. Do something. Do something. No matter what it is, do something. No woman wants to be there worried about if her husband to be will take care of things, or her current husband. You see, even if what you're bringing in is little, you're bringing in something. And you're pushing. You see, you're pushing. But when you're there hanging around, praying, it's scary for the lady. Because she starts to see a future where you will be in trouble. So don't throw around statements like, me, I don't care if my wife earns more than me. That's an alarm bell for a woman. She starts to say, isn't this one of those lazy men who's going to make me suffer? Don't, even if you think it in your head, don't say it. Just repent. You should care. You're the hunter. You're the caregiver. That's how God made you. Be generous. We're not asking for too much, but be quite generous. But Jeremy would buy maybe gifts, maybe a necklace. You know, I want to wear with you small things. And then don't hang around a girl with no reason. So many girls complain, he's there, he's around me. What is it? Are you a fly? Are you a bee? Tulikuchi, what do you want? I know it's hard, but say what you want. Be bold, sweat a little, say it. Remove that, you so move to the next target. Focus. Be clear with the girl. Ask the other gentlemen who are older than you, how did you do it? What words do I say? But be clear. Take her out, shake under the table, say, man, I like you, man. Just chintu tuchikole. Hey, you're spying. While you're spying, they take her. For you are the one who's always preparing the way. John the Baptist, they take her. John the Baptist, they take her. Vamu John the Baptist, yingira savior mode. You get a reputation, girls start saying, that one takutula. Don't even, that one is just wasting your time. You people, get married young. If you're still between 20 and 30, be open to marriage. And be open to marriage to a man who loves Jesus. The other things can be fixed. Finances can be fixed. How they look can be fixed. Dress code can be fixed. Those are not character issues. Especially if a man is submitted to authority. Marry quickly. Feelings will come. Feelings are simply chemical imbalances. And you don't even know why you feel. There are men who you've seen in movies. So if you like Denzel Washington, any man that's close to him will make your heart pump a little faster. Will make chemical imbalances happen in your system because you are told that that's the kind of man. So maybe you wanted tall, dark, and handsome, and now he's light-skinned, short, and a little lumpy here and there. You can color him in your head. You may not increase his height. It may not be possible. But if you think about it in the larger scheme of things, how does height make you happy in your marriage? Skin color. I wanted to marry a white man so that my babies can have curly, beautiful hair. Oh yeah. That was my vision, hair. How do you marry for hair? Omuzungu uno namufuna mumani. Daisy Dunjito. Stay here. Guys, I'm serious. Let's keep the major things major. The most important thing that Apostle told you here and that Jesus says to you, do not be unequally yoked. And some of you are in relationships right now with men who don't even believe in God. Get out. Run for your life. You may think that it's a good deal. He's not too serious about this religion thing. He will get serious. And you will weep tears. We've seen enough. We've counseled enough. We've held women crying enough, and men. Some of you men are dating girls. They are so hot. You know, hips are confusing you. Those hips, will they keep you happy when you can't agree on tithe? You can't agree on how your children will be raised. Will they be believing in God or not? Especially men. Understand that the woman will have the most influence on your children. Believe you me. I pray for you more than I pray for the girls. They'll go their mother's way. Think of Jacob. His mother influenced and took the blessing. The woman has the power. Don't be deceived. Those children will listen to her. They will go her religion. They will do what she does. And right now you think you're in charge. You're not. Because you're a man. You're the head, but you have a helper. And she really influences your children. So find a woman who loves Jesus deeply. Forget about hips. You will look at those hips and you'll be so annoyed. You'll want to kill those hips when she can't listen to you. I was telling my husband that, someone said something that when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Never believe that you're going to change a person. You don't have that power. You're not the Holy Spirit. If he's playing around with your heart right now, he'll play around with it later. You don't have the power to change him. No, I'll change him. You won't. You will cry. But that will not be your story because you listen to wise counsel. So people, even gentlemen, forget about age. You're looking for a girl, she must be younger. There are some older women who are going to build for you. But someone told you how she must be a certain way. Some of you, if the girl says she has a child, you run. A child is not a curse. That's a decision when she was younger. None of you wants to be judged by something you did in your past. Some of those women are some of the most fantastic wives you'll ever have. Because she had a child when she was 15 and unwise. But she can build for you a life beyond your wildest dreams. That you're looking for the other one. Find a young man or a young woman who loves Jesus. Don't date for long. You're Christians, you will tempt yourselves. Don't date for long. 6 months is enough time. Ngwe, do you know why you're shouting? Someone told you need 5 years. Have you met those who dated for 5 years and divorced? What are you doing in 5 years that you can't find out in 6 months? Let me ask you something. How long did Isaac date Rebekah? They didn't even date Musumba. But 2 minutes. The Bible says that Isaac saw Rebekah from a distance and he loved her and he married her. Do you know how long it took Elder Kamara to ask his wife to marry him? Exactly 3 dates. He took her out once, took her out twice. You know, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. On the 3rd date, he said, will you marry me? Why are we wasting time? They are very happily married. Identify, encircle, paralyze. Why are you wasting time? You start having married people problems when you're not even married. Why are you dating for 4 years? Muri kuchi. You're killing the romance. Am I talking at all? 6 months is more than, it's half a year. What are you doing? Muri kuchi. Why you see you've met the girl. Christians, we are not of the world. That stuff you've embraced. Someone told it to you and it's not Jesus. You need 2 years. Based on what? Which biblical principle told you that? The Bible says, he who finds, not a girlfriend, not he who finds someone to date, not he who finds someone to court. It says, he who finds a what? Wife. You meet her, you know that's it. I've found a wife. They find a good thing. Some of you, a boy came to you and immediately said, I want to marry you. Started running. Because you used to the ones who waste your time. It's too fast. Based on what? Does he love Jesus? Is he under authority? Marry him. It's just icing on a cake. Marry young. When you're young, you'll be like me. I didn't know what I wanted, what gown. I went to that place and asked them, I think Sister's Bridal, which gown fits me? They showed me this one. I said, I put it on. I didn't even have a whole crew of people to come and choose with me a gown. How much? It's booked. Why are you stressing? We are not yet married because we need money for a wedding. You should be buying land. My husband, we paid 6 months rent before we got married. And that's what we're spending our money on. Some of you, you get married, you spend all the money on a wedding, you don't have rent. Go and talk to Pastor Chris and Lynette. They will tell you the truth of what it means to enter a marriage in debt. Borrowing to impress, then you are struggling in your marriage. Because you try to impress people who don't care. They'll have something else to talk about after 2 days. They'll look at your gown for exactly 5 minutes, talk about it on the wedding day. By tomorrow, you don't matter. Meanwhile, you entered a hall. For us, we spent our, what do we tell the couples who come to us? Secure the honeymoon. Do marriage counseling. Plan for your future financially. The wedding, what can you actually afford? Do something beautiful. But don't break yourself. As much as possible, use the contributions from people to do your wedding, not your own money. We didn't use our money for our wedding. That 30 million came from people, 22 million. Our money went into rent, honeymoon. We went to Zanzibar for 5 or 6 days. Beautiful 5-star hotel. Had so much fun. While others were having weddings of 100 million and going back to their apartment because there's no money for honeymoon. And if you're dating someone, do not have sex before marriage. Do not do it. Do not build covenants where there is no do not. Do not. If you've already been doing it, today is the last day. Stop. You're creating things. Even if you get married to each other, you've created mistrust in your marriage. Because you'll always wonder if he's away, is he with someone? Why? You couldn't control himself when he was with you. So you're not sure he'll control himself if he's away. It's time for us to talk about virginity again in the church. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It is of God. And it's okay to say, I failed, now I'm getting back on track. There's nothing. I used to feel ashamed about those things. You guys, it's okay to know one person sexually all your life. In fact, it's the best, because I don't know anything else. The best I'll ever experience is Jeremy Biemans. I don't have anything to compare it to. And that's better than being there comparing to the other one who jumped up and down in the bed. Let's go there. Experience is not the best teacher when it comes to your sexuality. You will have so many things to undo, so many issues to deal with in your heart. Do not. I ask someone now, I'm going to end this here. In 1 Timothy, I think chapter 5, Paul says to Timothy, let the older men, he tells to treat the older men as fathers, the older women as mothers, and he says that treat the younger women as sisters and the younger men as brothers in all purity. Many of you ask, how far is too far? My answer to you is, whatever you would never do with your brother, don't do it with a man you've not yet married. Unless you go around kissing your brothers and going a certain way. Every time, that is your brother. That is someone else's husband or wife. One day when you don't marry them, you will meet them in a restaurant and they will have known you a certain way, that they have no business knowing you. But you can stop it today. Treat them as brothers. Jeremy, I treated him as a brother. I told him it could, who knows? The day before the wedding, you could change your mind. You are my brother until the moment we say those vows and walk out of that church. Then you are my husband. He was my brother. And you have it. Brother Jeremy, even though we were dating, I had a ring. It was a promise of something. Until the covenant. Anything that a brother couldn't do with a sister, we could not do. That's the word of the Lord. It protects you. Treat the younger men as brothers, the younger women as sisters, with all purity. So don't start asking, how far is too far? So what's the mark of commitment? Commitment in a dating relationship, you ask questions, you get to know each other, you visit relatives, you prepare for marriage, you go out on dates, you hang out with friends, you ask. You see, if you're busy doing things you shouldn't be doing, you're too confused, you don't even ask the critical questions. You feel people are getting married, how many children do you want to have? I don't know. What is your plan for this? I don't know. What are you busy doing? Doing stuff you shouldn't be doing that keeps you quiet. Use your mouth to talk. When you're dating, I'm here as your mother. I'm telling you what I have told my daughters. Talk, eat, drink. Yeah. Laugh so much. Get to know the man. Get to ask the questions, get to meet their friends, get to hang out with others, get to see how they respond to different things. You don't need to be, who told you that you need to be getting intimate with that person? You don't. That confuses you. Because you see, when you need to walk away from a relationship, you walk away as brothers. I dated a young man before I dated Jeremy. But I'm telling you, we are friends. They're even friends with Jeremy. There's nothing there. He was my brother. He still is. There's nothing to feel uncomfortable about. Absolutely nothing. But some of us, when you end that relationship, the ties are too many. You don't even know how to be around this person without feeling a certain way. Because they took something. Okay, actually, you gave them something. They didn't take it. You're in charge. You're here thinking, I'm powerless. You have a choice to go back today and say, listen, we can't do this anymore. I'm a child of God. So many of you are going to realize they will marry you quickly, because if I'm getting what I should get when I'm married, without the commitment of marriage, why should I marry you? You know why Christian marriages happen quickly? Why people date for 6 months? There is something you want which you can't get until you're married. So you need to marry quickly. But if I'm getting it, we can date for 7 years. Actually, why are we getting married? Stop going to their homes to wash their clothes. You're the weekend wife to cook their food. I never cooked that man food until he married me. And I'm a very good cook. I never washed his clothes. I never cleaned his house. I would advise, should we bring someone to clean for you? It's not me. But when you marry me, I will put your house in order. The house will be clean, the clothes will be washed, the food will be cooked. But until then, I'm your sister. You take me out, we eat the food. Yeah, you spend some money. You make an investment. Maybe you realize this investment is going on too long. Let's get married. Ladies, you have the power. Stop giving in too easily. Have you understood? Are you living here wondering what I have said? Okay. Number 7 is, I'm not going to spend time on it. It's get established financially. 20 to 30 are the years of hunting. This is the time to hunt. Hunt. You're young, you're energetic. Try out new things. Don't be this lazy person who sits there saying the statement, I'm believing God. Stop saying that stuff. Believing God is active. Start something. Do something. Make money. Don't look down on any job. If you have no job, get a job. Stop looking down on the other one. Whatever it is, it's better than doing nothing. The other job will find you doing something. Young women, get working. Use your brain. Use your energies. Think. Grow. You don't need to depend on a man. That idea that a man is the one who takes care of you. No, it's God. And He's given you the power to get wealth as much as He has given a man the power to get wealth. Get busy. Establish yourself. Try out new things. Take risks financially. This is the time. Learn. He tells Timothy, meditate on these things in verse 15. Give yourself entirely to them so that your progress is evident to all. Your progress must be evident to all. Financial lack can seriously hinder your passions and dreams. You can want to do something, but you have no money for it. So take care of it. Be the best at what you do. When I worked where I worked before Worship Harvest, I was the best receptionist. Therefore, they promoted me. They had to create a role for me. Then I was so good at it, they moved me forward. They were so good at it. You know, it was just, and I had this desire to be so exceptional. They were paying me absolutely nothing. Really, when I think about it, 150K, 250K, you're working long hours. For me, it wasn't about them. It was, God, you will promote me. You see my faithfulness. If you're at a job, give it your very best. Don't be those lazy people who give bare minimum. No. Give your very best. You're young. You have energy. Wake up early. Stay up a little later. You won't be able to do these things as you continue in life. Do them now. Give everything. Try new things. Invest. Money is simply a function of wisdom. Sign up for classes, and it's the lowest capital. It's the least we should be faithful in. If you can't be faithful in the area of money, it's going to be very difficult to be faithful elsewhere. Proverbs 21:20 says, there is desirable treasure and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man squanders it. Don't squander these years of your life. Don't squander them partying, hanging out, wasting time, doing what you see in the movies. That's the movies. It's not real life. This is the life you have. It's not a dress rehearsal. Give everything 120%. Be those people when they ask you for one thing, you deliver 10. Not because of what they're going to pay you, but you're training yourself to be a certain person. You will be promoted, no question about it. You get promoted. Excellence promotes. If the person where you are doesn't recognize it, God will make another one recognize. I used to go and headhunt in restaurants for my team. I didn't care what graduation you had. If you're excellent there, we bring you in, we train you. Excellence stands out. So be that person wherever you are. Make money, save money, invest. You're not too young to do that. Don't wait until you're 40. Start at 20. Have a head start. Start early. Start now. Don't waste time. This is the time of your life, you guys. Me, I look at you. I mean, I'm a little out of the 30s now. And I'm just like, look, guys, I wish we had this sort of conference. I wish someone told me the things you're hearing. Stand out. Take responsibility for your life. Don't blame another person, this one who didn't do this for you. Now you're in charge. What are you going to do with your life? Make decisions for you, not your auntie, your uncle. Don't marry because your relatives like the man. They won't live with him. Or the woman. They won't live with her for life. You have a governing system inside. Ask wise men and women. Listen to your heart. Do what God is telling you to do. This is the best time of your life. I'm telling you. You're living in a time of great energy, great resources. You're alive. You know God. There's time wasting that has already been removed by knowing God. You don't waste time in other things. But now focus. Get intense. Hang around people who are like-minded. Don't be deceived. 20-something-year-olds are doing crazy good stuff in this nation. They're not out in the dance clubs. You're alone with your few friends. I don't know who said it, but they say that if your 5 friends are fools, you're the 6th. You're the 6th fool. So look around. Do you like the trajectory of the lives that your friends' lives are taking? If not, find some new friends and then attract your other friends to a place of strength eventually. I started my journey without even knowing it. You know, God has been writing a story. I started tithing at the age of 13. Yeah. My pocket money, 200 shillings tithe, 2,000 shillings tithe. I have my receipts from Worship Harvest when I was on campus, 1K tithe, a receipt of 1,500 shillings. And they would still have to give me my receipt, boom, receipt. It's tithe. But you see, you don't realize that something is happening. You don't wait until you're older, until you have more money. You won't be faithful with more if you're not faithful with little. Started ministering at around that age. I joined Worship Harvest when I was 19. They planted when I was 21. And I was in the team, serving on the worship team, not knowing what I'm doing. Friends, now is the time. When your mind is open, you're not stuck on something. Allow God to direct your life. But please make decisions from today. Make some decisions for you. Not for anyone else in your life, not for your parents. It's time to stop living for others and look inside and say, from today, I'm responsible for my life. If I choose to do this, I've chosen it. If I choose to marry this person, I've chosen it. If I choose this financial life, I've chosen it. If I choose this, social life, I've chosen it. Choose, take responsibility, grow up. Take responsibility for your life. Everyone is living their life, live yours. It's time to embrace greatness. Thank you. It's time to live the life that God placed you on this earth to live. So, what is Jesus saying to you? We've been here, you've listened to an incredible teaching on following from Pastor Blesso. You've listened to an incredible teaching on how much you don't look for purpose, but you serve purpose. It's in the serving, it's in the availability, it's in saying yes, it's in living beyond yourself, it's embracing the uncomfortable. You heard about the 7 things that should happen between 30 and 40. Seek God. I remember the overnights as 20-year-olds, you're just following people around, praying, prayer overnights, prayer mountain, retreats, reading through the Bible cover to cover. We didn't know what we were doing. People tell me, I've had my relatives tell me that when I would come home in S4 VAC, S2 VAC, that I would sit down my cousins. That's what they say. I really don't remember, but I believe them because many of them are saying the same thing. And I would tell them to read their Bible, then tell me what they've learned. I don't remember doing that, but it's because that's what I was into. My friend recently told me that she came to visit me at university, and I asked her, what have you read in the Bible? And apparently she told me, I haven't read my Bible today. I told her I can't talk to you. Go in the room, read your Bible, then we'll talk. You know that radicalness, it was in the 20s. And God was building something. This is the time to get serious about the word of God. You have more time than you think you do. Discover and define your life's work. I'm reading those things for you again. Become an authority in your discipline. Serve in the ministry. Hey, find mentors and fathers. Don't be afraid of fathers. Find a spouse and get married. Get established financially. Why don't we get up on our feet right now? As we close, shortly the team will be coming to close. But I want you to take a moment. You've been here. So much has been said. I don't want you to walk away without saying, what one thing is going to change in my life as a result of being in this room today? No one can make that decision or manage it for you. And I want you to think about that. As Timothy plays those keys, for a moment, I want you to think, what one thing? And I want you to think in your mind, who is going to keep me accountable? And send them a message and tell them, you know what? This is going to change in my life. Keep me accountable. Moving forward, I'm going to do this differently. Some of you need to say yes to some people you've been saying no to. Some of you need to say no to some people. Some of you need to start praying 1 hour daily. Some of you it's fasting weekly. Some of you it's getting a job and not looking down on the work that is being offered to you and staying in that limbo of believing God. What does that mean? Some of you it's just forgiving someone who hurt you. Whatever it is, I want you to think about it, and I want you to send a message to someone. Right now, not tomorrow, not 1 hour later, because we'll walk out and things will happen. Pick up that phone. Obedience is better than sacrifice. And just tell someone this thing. And tell someone who you know will keep you accountable, who makes you uncomfortable. Not the other one who will say, I understand. Tell them this thing. Some of you need to send a message to your pastor and say, I'm saying yes to starting that missional community. I'm saying yes to being at that hosting center. Whatever it is, send that message in obedience. Don't wait for a feeling. And I believe God is going to do amazing things in our lives. Father, I thank you because the entrance of your word brings light and gives understanding to the simple. I thank you that today you've brought light to places where there was darkness. Today you've brought understanding where things seemed complicated. Today you've broken down walls and barriers. Today you've realigned destinies. Something has shifted in the spirit concerning the lives of the people who have been here today to hear what you've said, oh God. And now, Lord, Holy Spirit, it's not by power, it's not by might, but by your Spirit. We open ourselves to you to hear your voice on different things, to pursue you like never before, to do what you've asked us to do, to be where you've asked us to be. And the God of grace will be with us. Friends, may the Lord bless you. May he cause his face to shine on you. May he open the eyes of your understanding to his will. May you be open to the mysteries of the knowledge of God. May you receive the spirit of knowledge and wisdom and understanding in the things of God. May you be drawn to the things of God more than the things of this world. May you be attracted to the work of God and the things of God more than anything else. May you serve God with all your heart. May you die empty. May you die having fulfilled your purpose in your generation. And for those of you who feel like you're behind schedule, receive grace to catch up. Receive the grace to catch up, because God is able to turn things around. He did it for Moses, for Abraham. Receive the grace to catch up and not to be discouraged in any way. May you receive the wisdom to know what to do and the grace to do it and follow through. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.